the second class to the assignment that I have with you all, and that is Antonio Gramsci's The Formation of the Intellectuals. So I will begin with Marxism, and I will just explain to you the basic or the fundamental tenets of Marxism, and I will also mention to you the part of that, which part of Marxism is actually important for us when we are well into our assignment. So let's move on. Oh, another thing is that at the end of this class, I will be answering a separate question from today's class. Actually, I will be answering the question that why do we study theory at all? এই যে আমরা এতগুলো যে আমরা থিওরি শুরু করে দিচ্ছি, মার্কসিজম কেন পড়ছি সেটা আমরা এই ক্লাসটার মধ্যেই বুঝতে পারবো। বা I will be sending you a particular attachment or particular document wherein you will read and you will understand that why we study Marxism. It is just a 2-page document and it's quite easy to understand. Again, if you do not, then I am here for you. So at the end of this class, we will answer, or we will be going to discuss what is the purpose of theory in general, not just Marxism, but any. What is the purpose of the theory of feminism, of post-colonialism, of deconstruction, etc., etc. So these are all separate theories. These are all different categories of literary theoretical perspectives. But we are going to know why do we study theory at all. But that is only after this class. So we will begin now. So we will begin from the origin of Marxism. Just one moment. So in order to understand why Marxism became what it is today, we need to go back to its history. We need to go back to the first event that started off a series of other events, finally leading to the formation of the Marxist political party. So the first is obviously the French Revolution in 1789. The French Revolution being one revolution that was, the French Revolution being the first political revolution in which a group of working class, a group of laborers, wage workers, farmers, tenant farmers, agricultural workers, the middle class, all of these people, they revolted against the monarchy that was exploitative, that was charging heavy taxes without any purpose, in a country that was already devastated by so many wars that had taken place before the French Revolution. So it was the common people, the mass that we say, the mass of the country that agitated against the ruling power that was the monarchy, or monarchy of Louis XVI, and it overthrew the monarchical party and brought a republic into the power. So the French Revolution was the first instance, and it laid down the foundation. We all know the domino effect. Domino, you all know what a domino is. That is, they are small tiles that we keep on the floor, a number of tiles, and we set them in such a way so that if we push I'm very sorry, that was my Alexa reminding me. Yes. Okay. The French Revolution, yes. The next is, you can see, that was the formation of the corresponding societies. Now, what is this corresponding society? There had been many attempts to increase the number of voters. You see, before any revolutions that took place in their own country, like previously, all forms of power, they never allowed the common people or the mass to participate in elections or in forming of the government. Obviously, they won't, because monarchy, there used to be monarchy, and monarchy was justified by the divine rule. The king had the right to rule under the order of God. So nobody can challenge, and the right to vote is just a concept that was not exist that did not exist in the early years, like 1760 up to the 1760s. But there had been efforts, there had been small rebellions, and there had been small efforts towards increasing the number of voters. So the Society for the Promotion of this Constitutional Information was established in 1784. Uh, and there was a person called Thomas Paine who encouraged the re-establishment of this society, that is, the promotion of constitutional information. So you can understand the name, that this society would promote information of the constitution. A constitution being a book made for common people, which the common people do not read. So in 1784, it was established. But it was Thomas Paine who re-established this society in 1791. The result was the formation of the corresponding societies that you can see on your screen. Now, what did this do? The corresponding societies represented a substantial minority of the working class population. So you see, this was like a political party. It was like, but not a political party, because it is written society. So it is like a social community or a group of people that an informative that plays an informative function and represented a substantial, that is a good enough portion of the minority population of the working class of London. This was Thomas Paine's initiative. So Thomas Paine had also written The Rights of Man, which was a very influential book for the working class. And these societies, they became a feature of the unrepresented industrial towns. So all the industrial towns and all the workers that used to work in the factories, they did not have any representation in the government. Their obstacles, their grievances, their complaints were never addressed. It was never even important, so forget about being addressed. So this society provided representation for the industrial towns. But however, in 1793, the societies, they were under trouble. The police, or the imperial police, the monarchical police, they were cracking down on these societies, and all these people, they became criminals. And Thomas Paine was thrown out of the country, and he went to America, wherein the Americans would be influenced by his writing, and there would be the American Revolution over there. So lots of these things happened. The societies were not successful. However, very importantly, the corresponding society was an industrial revolution at infancy. It was just being born. The spirit of this industrial revolution was born with the formation of these societies. Then in 1799, the working class organizations were banned completely. They were completely banned. All these societies were banned. People were thrown out. They were criminalized. They were jailed, killed off, shot on the road. And in 1799, all these societies were banned. Then in 1811, a movement started called the Ludite Movement, and it continued to 1816. Now, what was this? During the Napoleonic Wars, when Napoleon was trying to annex France and other territories under his rule, during those wars, there was a rise of difficult working conditions in the new textile factories. So working class people, they were living in horrible conditions, and they were working in horrible conditions in these textile factories. And there was a rising popularity in machines. So machines were being introduced. So this obviously threatened the jobs of the working class, who were already in very poor conditions, because up till now, nobody had paid them any attention. So if their working conditions and living conditions would have been a little bit better, They would have accepted the change of machinery, the change of industrial revolution. But since they had never been catered to up till now, they were angry. And it is this anger that came out with the revolution. So, the machinery, the advent or the usage, the increasing usage of automatic machines, they threatened the jobs of so many skilled laborers. And what they did was that in the Ludite movement, these working class people, these textile uh, factory workers, they burned mills and pieces of factory machineries. So during this Ludite movement, a lot of property was destroyed. They started burning factories and mills. They started destroying industrial equipment. And in the late 18th century, they they uh, the government brought out constitutional acts in order to stop them. Uh, these the working class, they battled the British army, and they sent death threats to the magistrates and food merchants. So you can see that they were the radicals of the working class. The Ludite movement, it started off as a radicalism itself. The corresponding society was like a how should I put, it was like a joint community of people. It seeking constitutional representation. However, the Ludite movement, it was a full-on war. It was an open war at the officials, at the textile mill owners, at the British army, and so slowly it is going towards the Marxist revolution. Then what is happening? In 1831, it is the Polish uprising that is happening. It was the also known as the Polish-Russian War, and it was the war was happened the partitioned Poland, which was partitioned, and against the Russian Empire. The uprising began when the young Polish officers of the local army of Congress Poland's military academy revolted. Young officers who revolted in the Polish uprising. They were joined by various other countries like Lithuania, Belarus, and Ukraine, and they were all revolting against Russia. Why is this important? Because had a imperial Russia had an imperial government at that point of time, like the British, but not the British were not ruling. There was the Russian Tsar, TSAR. They were known as the Tsars of Russia. So they were an imperial army, and their subjects, they are now revolting against each other. So this is all happening correspondingly. You see, Marx was German, but he was heavily influenced by the revolutions that were taking place in Russia. Russia was the hub of communist activity. So this Polish uprising was very important in the face of in the upcoming Marxist revolution that was to come. Then comes 1847. That is, the first Marxist political party was formed, the Communist League. And in the next year, Marx publishes the Communist Manifesto. I can send you the Communist Manifesto if you want, if you are interested to read it. It is very interesting read. If you want, I can send it to you. Otherwise, I will not discuss much about it. So he publishes the Communist Manifesto, and then he escapes to Britain. Marx escapes is wrong English over here. I'm very sorry for that. Okay, I will send your the Communist Manifesto. Fine enough. So he was thrown out of his own country. He was thrown out of Germany because of this publication. Because this publication, it sparked off like numerous revolts. It was like a fire in haystack. So he was thrown out of his country and he escaped to Britain. So in 1849, again, Baden Revolution. This is also a working class revolution that occurs in Baden. You can read about it in Wikipedia. It's not very difficult. Then in 59, he publishes a contribution to the critique of political economy. Next comes the Working Man's Association. The name speaks for itself. You can see the names. I'm not explaining these because you can understand by the name what the function, what their function is, what the function of an international working man's association was. The Working Man's Association is represented now internationally. That is what is happening in 1860. Next, 3 years later, the January Uprising. This is again the Polish uprising against the Tsarist Russia. That the Tsars, they were brutal rulers, and the Polish uprising, this January uprising, would lead to eventual throwing off of the Tsarist government. Then in 1617, Marx publishes Das Kapital, or a book on his, or in English it is written The Capital, or only Capital with C. That is the capital of the capitalists. This is one of the most influential books that Marx has written, and it is still influential. If we would have had Marxism as a literary theory, then I would have definitely read the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital with you. But these were published, and that is all we need to know if we are concerned only with our assignment. And in 1871, another important event, that is the Paris Commune, is happening. Now, what is this Paris Commune? Marxist revolution often refers to this date, that is the 1871, as the working class comes to power for a brief duration of time, for a very brief duration. The Paris Commune was the first successful workers' revolution that existed from March 26th to May 30. That is for 2 months in 1871. Following the defeat of France, which was ruled by Louis Bonaparte, in Franco-Prussian War in 1871, the government of national defense concluded the war with the Germans on harsh terms, and namely the occupation of Paris. So what is this Paris Commune? What happened was that the Paris workers, they reacted angrily to German occupation. The Germans, they were occupying parts of France, and that one of it was Paris. So the Paris workers, they reacted angrily to it. On March 18, the new French government, having gained the permission of Germany, which was occupying parts of France, it sent its army into Paris to capture those workers that were revolting. The Paris workers peacefully refused to allow the French army to capture the weapons. Just listen to what I am saying. You will find many similarities in current situation. So the Germans, they are controlling the occupation of France, and the French government is aiding them, helping the Germans. However, the French workers, they are revolting. But up till now, it is a peaceful protest. The Paris workers are peacefully refusing to allow the French army to capture the weapons. And as a result, the French government of national defense declares war on the city of Paris. So by war, you can understand there is no scene of peace here. War and peace, like they are two different things. They do not overlap with each other. So if the government is declaring war in the city of Paris, now there is no question of the Paris workers protesting peacefully. On what is happening then, a municipal council composed of workers and soldiers. This is called the Paris Commune. The Paris Commune was a municipal council of workers and soldiers. This was elected to power by the city of Paris, by the citizens of Paris. Throughout France, support rapidly spread to the workers of Paris. A wildfire which was quickly and brutally killed off by the government. The workers of Paris, however, would see another problem within Paris. However, the first workers' association, or the first workers' government, came into power with the Paris Commune. This is why the Paris Commune is so important. So this is the history of all these Marxist activities that is happening all over the world, in Russia, in France, in Germany, in Poland, all of these things, in Paris, all of these things are happening in Britain. The corresponding societies, they were formed in Britain, in London particular, in Europe, if I can say that. even before the first Marxist political party came, or even before Marx came into the scene. We get the word Marxist from the person of Marx. So even before Marx came into the scene, the tenets or the basic ideas of Marxism, they were already flourishing even before him. And all of these consolidated into the movement that we call Marxism. So these are the origins. These are the origins of how we understand Marxism as we understand it now. So up till now, anyone has any problem or issue in understanding, or you want me to repeat anything, please come up with your question. কারোর কোনো রকমের সমস্যা থাকলে প্লিজ বলো। All right. Then I can continue then. Fine enough. Yes. Now we begin with the fundamentals of Marxism. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Marx was the son of a lawyer, but he spent most of his life in great poverty as a political exile from Germany. Because he was a political activist, he was constantly disregarded and thrown away from institutions and thrown away from his own country. So he was in exile. He was a political exile from Germany, living in Britain. Engels had left Germany in 1842 to work in Manchester for his father's textile firm. So both of them, they meet each other in Britain. They met. How did they meet? They met after Marx had read an article by Engels in a journal to which they both contributed, and they called their economic theories communism rather than Marxism. It were the later scholars who called communism Marxism, and then again there are different versions of Marxism. So Marx and Engels, they called their economic theories as communism. Communism, which was a belief in the state ownership of industry, transport, etc., rather than private ownership. Marx and Engels announced the advent of communism in their jointly written Communist Manifesto of 1848. The aim, what is the aim of Marxism then? The aim of Marxism is just one moment. The aim of Marxism is to bring about a classless society in which classes do not exist. One of the classes which we have studied in detail, that is the class of the elites. Okay, so Marx would want none of these classes to exist. I'm talking about Marxism over here, the original traditional Marxism. This is the traditional Marxism in its core forms, without any change or without any developments from other versions of Marxism, from other revolutions later on that were happening in other countries, and they required certain changes or certain deviations from the traditional tenets of Marxism. So we are now talking about the traditional Marxists, because you can see Marx and Friedrich Engels, they were the propagators, the propounders of Marxism. So now we are talking about the traditional Marxists. So the aim of Marxism was to bring about a society that was classless, based on common ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. So there would be no private ownership, kono privatization thakbe na, which is happening nowadays. So many institutions, so many organizations, associations, so many parts of the society being privatized, bringing in capitalism, bringing in rich elite capitalists into power, who will make or who will influence making of laws, who will influence making of government policies, and which will eventually affect us which will eventually negatively affect the working class. So this is actually happening right now, and if you are a little bit sharp enough, and if you follow the news, you will be able to understand that whatever we are studying now is so relevant during our contemporary time, because all the revolutions or all the rebellions that are happening in India is a form of this Marxist revolution. I'm saying a form of Marxist revolution. And whatever is challenging this revolution is a form of capitalist government, right wing capitalist government. Any which way, so Marx wanted a classless society, or Marxism wanted a classless society in which no class will exploit the other. Marxism is also a materialist philosophy. What is this materialist philosophy? That is, a materialist philosophy is that which tries to explain things without the existence, without assuming the existence of a world or of forces beyond the natural world around us and the society we live in. Putting it simply, a materialist philosophy, if you concentrate on the word materialist, it is derived from the word matter. So Marxism does not concern itself with anything that is outside of the physical world, of the physical social world. Everything that is concrete, tangible, every phenomena that we can see, that we can analyze, that we can discuss, and then we can develop or change if we wanted to. So materialist philosophy does not assume anything beyond this world. It does not assume in religion, in the presence of God, in the presence of divine power. It believes in the people, in the masses, people made of flesh and bones, of matter, of atoms, that which can be known, that which can be discovered. So materialist philosophy, putting it simply, is a philosophy of matter, philosophy of concrete and tangible objects of the society. Now, whenever I say society, things do not remain simple anymore, because a society is composed of matter, yes, but it is also composed of the relations of the matter. So relationships between people, relationship between institutions formed by people, relationships between organizations formed by people, the effect that they have on each other, etc., etc. Now, this is opposed to an idealist philosophy which does believe in the existence of a spiritual world. Idealist philosophy would believe in the existence of God, believe that God is there to make things right. The philosophy of Christianity. That is an idealist philosophy. Moving on, but very importantly, the essential difference between Marxism and all other philosophies, whatever philosophy you take up from book, from the world, there is one difference in essence. And what is that? Why do we opt for Marxism? Why is Marxism such a hot subject in each and every era of the history of the world? Because Marx intended to change the world through his philosophy, whereas all the other philosophies, they merely seek to understand the world. I'm just giving you one example. It is your wish, you can go on and read about it further. Now, Marx was influenced by a philosopher called Heidegger. He was influenced by a philosopher called Heidegger. Now, Heidegger was writing about being and time. Heidegger's philosophy was concerned with understanding the human being and the perfectibility, how human beings can perfect themselves. I am not saying that all of these philosophies are unimportant. No. We need to have knowledge. In order to change the world, we need to have knowledge about the world. So, whereas Heidegger's philosophy of phenomenology, his philosophy was known as phenomenology, or his being and time, he was studying phenomenon, or something that we can see, that is human beings, but human beings also having a part within themselves which which we can never truly understand. And that is what links us to God. That is what links us to divinity. So the more we try to understand ourselves, the more we reach closer to God. This is nothing but the Hindu philosophy. This is nothing but the Hindu philosophy of attaining self-knowledge in order to gain moksha, in order to gain mukti. However, whereas Heidegger's philosophy and so many others wanted to understand human being or understand the society or understand God or religion and whatever and whatnots, Marxism seeked to change it. And very interestingly, ironically, and we can also say very obviously, these are the words that are written on the grave of Marx as his epitaph. So you see, Marx was so much dedicated to his work that even after his death, he wanted to keep a part of his objective alive, that is to change the world. Moving on. Okay. Again, I will stop. So anyone has anything to ask or anything to suggest or just to say anything, please come up with anything that you have to say. You cannot be so silent. This is such an interesting class. Why don't you interact with each other even? Okay, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Mm, do you think that Marxism is relevant even today? Do you think Marxism is relevant today? Okay, আমি নিজের থেকে তাহলে এবার জিজ্ঞেস করব. I am going to call up people and ask. Anindita Das, please unmute yourself and try to answer. Anindita, are you there? Anindita Das. Sweetie, you want to say something?
ম্যাম, ডিউ টু নেটওয়ার্ক প্রবলেম আমি বেরিয়ে গিয়েছিলাম, আর কি হয়েছে আমি শুনতে পাইনি।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। সো someone else then.
ম্যাম, আমি এটা জিজ্ঞাসা করছি, আপনি কি এটা ইউটিউব বা কোথাও পোস্ট করবেন?
This has been recorded and it will be uploaded.
ওকে ম্যাম, ওকে ম্যাম।
Anindita Das. Okay, so if you people are just logging into the meeting and then keeping your phone somewhere else and moving around the house or working whatever you have to do, then it does not actually, this is pointless. Where is this person, Anindita Das? I will not be giving you attendance. Okay, Brototi Mondol, are you there? Brototi Mondol. Brototi Mondol. All right. People who are not answering will be going out of this class and no attendance for you. Anindita Das, are you there? You are not there. Anindita Das. Suchandra কিছু একটা জিজ্ঞেস করছে. Please somebody answer her. Anindita is not there, so she is out of this class. Brototi Mondol, are you there? Brototi Mondol. Who is this dark side gamer? Dark side gamer in the people list. Who is dark side gamer? Dark side gamer. Where are these people and who are these people? Dark side gamer ইনি কে? এনার নামটা কি আসল?
অমৃতা ভৌমিক।
Where is he?
জানি না।
This is ridiculous. মানে মিটিং এ অন করে এসে ফোন রেখে চলে গেছে। Okay, Zahura Vaisi, where are you? Just look at the condition. এরকম ভাবে মার্কস পড়াবো? জাহুরা ওয়াইসি কে আছে এখানে?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please answer. Whatever you have to say. Why do you think that Marxism is relevant today or important today? Anything that you might have to say. এতক্ষণ যা পড়লে, whatever you understood up till now. কেন বলতে পারছো না? বলো বলো। Please speak up. Did you understand whatever I taught you up till now?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand whatever I taught you up till now? এতক্ষণ ক্লাসে যা পড়ানো হলো সেগুলো সব বুঝেছো?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, কিছু কিছু।
কিছু কিছু বোঝোনি তো, যেগুলো বোঝোনি সেগুলো জিজ্ঞেস করোনি কেন? This is not going to work. From the next class onwards, I see no one asking questions to me, and then when I ask you question, you are not being able to answer. Then that is not going to work. That is this. It does not have a point. Then does not have a point. এত effort নেওয়া হচ্ছে. I'm giving you extra classes. These are being recorded. I'm asking you again and again. If you do have any problem, do come up with questions. None of you are asking. But when I'm asking you a question, you are not being able to answer. This is your last chance. From the next class, I will ask you questions again, Zahura. You make sure that you pay attention to the class. আজকের রেকর্ডেড ক্লাসটা গিয়ে দেখবে, প্রবলেম হলে পরে আমাকে জিজ্ঞেস করবে। ঠিক আছে। নেক্সট, হু ইজ মধুশ্রী দাস? মধুশ্রী দাস is there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Madhushri, please try to say anything. That do you think that Marxism is relevant today?
Yes, ma'am. I think Marxism is relevant today because it is all about class relation and social conflict. And nowadays, it also serves a justification for all classes. Our society also.
Okay, you have that you are not wrong. It serves a justification for all sorts of classes today. Okay, fine enough. I am not unhappy with your answer. Next is who is Mrinmoy Banerjee. Mrinmoy Banerjee, where are you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Please, anything that you have to say for the question that I asked. Do you think that Marxism is relevant today?
Yes, ma'am. I think it is relevant.
How is it? Just one point, anything.
Because it doesn't support any type of class division. So it it will
বলো, বাংলায় বলো।
যে এখন যে বিভিন্ন ক্লাসের মধ্যে যে এক ধরনের লড়াই বা ফাইট চলছে সোসাইটিতে, সেগুলো অনেকটা কম হতো যদি এই ফিলোসফি মেনে চলা হতো।
আচ্ছা, একটা tell me this. This is a question for all of you. Do you think, তোমার কি মনে হয় যে সমাজে কোনো ক্লাস না থাকলে ভালো?
হ্যাঁ, অবশ্যই।
সবাই সমান থাকলে তোমার মনে হয় ভালো হবে? সবাই সমান থাকলে যেন কেয়সটা কি হবে? Marxism, this is a problem that since traditional Marxism seeks to demolish or abolish all classes, the entire country or the entire world should be similar. Now, since I had since Marxism does not believe in any classes, it is also often called an ideal philosophy. মানে খুব idealistic ধরা হয় এখানে, because this is like a dream which can never come true in a world which has so many kinds of people. Even in Indiaতে you think that there will be a time ever when there will be no classes. এটা কোনোদিন হবে না. It can never happen. Okay, ঠিক আছে, fine enough. Anybody else wants to say anything else? আর কেউ কিছু বলবে নিজের থেকে? You can. Just give me one moment. Just one moment, I will be back. Okay, anyone else has to say anything? Please
Ma'am?
come up here. হ্যাঁ বলো, ইপসিতা।
Ma'am, Marxism, I think it is relevant, but some points of it, that's কি বলবো, that are a bit problematic. I think nowadays, because I mean we can't কি বলবো, deny that there are divisions. I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, but there are division, এটা exist করে। এবার যদি এবং অবশ্যই সবার ইকুয়াল অপরচুনিটি পাওয়া উচিত এবং সমস্ত দিক থেকে ইকুয়ালি কি বলবো, প্রত্যেকের রাইট আছে ট্রিটেড হওয়ার। কিন্তু এখানে সমস্যাটাই হচ্ছে এটা, আজকে সকালে উঠে যদি আমি ভুলে যাই যে এখানে ডিভিশনস গুলো আছে, তাহলে যেটা হবে বিভিন্ন ক্লাসের পিপলদের তাদের নিজস্ব ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল প্রবলেমস রয়েছে এবং সেগুলো আলাদা।
Yes, yes,
সেগুলো
definitely.
অ্যাকনলেজ করা হবে না তাহলে। হ্যাঁ, হয়তো ইকুয়ালিটিটা একটা টাইমে আসবে, কিন্তু কালকেই যদি ভাবি যে মার্কসিজম এখন থেকে শুরু হয়ে যাবে এন্ড হচ্ছে কি সমস্ত কিছু ইকুয়াল হয়ে যাবে, সেটা পসিবল নয়। যতদিন না ইকুয়াল হচ্ছে ততদিন ডিভিশন গুলোকে অ্যাকনলেজ এট লিস্ট করতে হবে টু সলভ অল কাইন্ড অফ প্রবলেমস, বিকজ দে হ্যাভ देयर ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল প্রবলেমস।
Very true, very very rightly said. Even if you read the Communist Manifesto, you will find that Marx ends the manifesto by saying or by writing in bold that the proletariat or the working class will rise. And very ironically, he ends it with an exclamation mark. It is a future sentence, will rise, and it ends with an exclamation mark. This says something about what he also saw as a possibility. You see various classes having it so much individualistic problems, contextual problems, temporal problems that are based on time, problems that are based on different kinds of society. So they are all of these classes of people, all of these various classes of people, divisions of people, they have their own set of individual novel or new problems. In the next 10 years, the class of Dalits, they will have new problems. In the next 20 years, the working class, the mill workers, they will have new problems. So how can Marxism as a philosophy address all of these changing problems of numerous number of so many number of classes that exist in the world? So Marxism is relevant to bring about a change. However, Marxism can never, or it is very difficult to achieve its objective soon enough. We will never know when there will be a world without any class. However, Marxism is important because it lays the foundation for an endeavor, for a wish to change this class-based society. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So just 5 more minutes off and then I will close off. I'll go back to my slide. Okay. So Marxism and capitalism. These are the two tenets, because Marxism is opposed to capitalism, capitalism is opposed to communism. Marxism versus capitalism. Yes. So these are some important things that I have written on the screen. Let's see what they are. Okay. The Marxist view of the world, of the history. The Marxist view of history as a class struggle um, considers itself. This view is considered to be as a vehicle. This is a vehicle that runs the philosophy of Marxism, and this vehicle is also fueled by the competition for economic, social, and political advantage. So the Marxist view of the world existing in a struggle of class amongst classes is actually a view towards the competition that exists in the society, in politics, in economy, for advantages. In order to gain advantage, the competition exists in order to have advantage in these various spheres of the society. The exploitation of one social class by another is seen especially in modern industrial capitalism. The exploitation that one class commits on the other, especially this is seen in a modern industrial capitalism. Today's world. Today's world sees the most class exploitation, because this is a world dominated by industries, factories, machines, automations, and power is vested in the groups of a few, only a few, who want to exploit the working class for more and more advantages. The result of this exploitation is alienation, which is the state that comes about when the worker is ripped off, when all the skills of the worker is taken away. The worker is de-skilled. How is he de-skilled? Because he is made to perform repetitive tasks every day, again and again and again, in a sequence. So if you read of certain tenets of American history, you will see that there is a thing called Fordism. Like we have Ford cars today. So the founder of the Ford car or Ford industry, he invented a machine, or he invented the he used or implemented the method of production by chain system. That is, there will be machines at each and every set in lines, and the product will go to one machine and then to other and then to another, and it will reach its final product. Like we have in today's modern day industrial world, today's factories, in automated factories, everything is done by the machines, and there are workers that are placed beside the machines, who press buttons in order for the machines to work. So the worker's skill is no longer in use. He is just operating the machine and becoming like the machine constantly, slowly, as the work progresses. His skills are no longer in use, and therefore he is de-skilled. He only engages himself in fragmented, repetitive tasks in a sequence of whose nature and purpose he or she or the worker has no understanding. The worker does not know how the machine makes stitches on a piece of cloth. The worker knows how to stitch himself or herself. But how does the machine do it? He does not have that technical knowledge, right? He does not do that. Machines are made by someone else. So the worker just operates it, and he becomes this repetitive machine himself. He does only one kind of work. His skills are no longer in use, and therefore he feels alienated from from his working world. This is what is known as alienation. And this is, if we contrast this, or if we compare this to the cottage industry system, like handicrafts, like we had in India, we still have it now. So if you see the cottage industry system or the world of handicrafts before the industrial world, you will see that the system of manufacture, home and workplace were one. People use from work from home, and the worker completes the whole production process in all its variety and is in direct contact with the work that he is doing. So in an industrial world, a worker is alienated, whereas in a cottage industry or handicrafts work, the worker is engaged in his work directly and there is no alienation. These alienated workers in this industrial world, they have undergone this process called reification. What is this? This is a term that Marx used in his book Das Kapital. It is a way when capitalist goals and questions of profit and loss are important, are paramount. They are the most important. Only the capitalist ideals, their profits, their goals and questions of profit and loss are the most important, and the workers are bereft. They are from them we are taken away their full humanity. The workers lose their humanity, and they are thought of as hands, like working hands, we say, as hands or the labor force, so that it is the effects of the industrial closures are calculated fully in economic terms. So how does an economy work, or how does a country work? We calculate it in terms of GDP, gross domestic product, that is how much revenue, how much production profits are generated from factories. We never take into consideration the plight, the obstacles that the workers of those factories face. This is the process of reification. This is like a chain. Whereas the world of capitalist is only seeks in pursuing individual economic self-interest. And the capitalists believe that it is only by pursuing my own subjective individual profit that I can bring about economic progress. Now, this is the basic difference between Marxism and capitalism. Okay, so I will pause till now. I could not finish my class. I thought that there would have been certain other things for today. I would have begun with this: how does a traditional Marxist think? So আমি এইটা আর আজকে করাচ্ছি না. This will be it for today at least. Let me just stop presenting. All right. So this is it for today, and I will continue from today's class, of course. Where I left off today, I will pick it up from the next class. And to answer the question that why theory, I will post a half-an-hour lecture in YouTube and share it with you all. So up till now, again, I'm asking: is there anything that you need me to clarify or just repeat? Please say it now. And someone please take a screenshot of this people list and send it to me. Anyone has any question? Okay, so in the next class, we will finish off with this traditional Marxist view of the world, and we will at least begin with the essay. So I will send you আমি কি তোমাদের এসেটাকে পাঠিয়েছি নাকি পাঠাইনি? কেউ একজন প্লিজ বলো। Okay, Dorothy has asked a question that what is the difference between Marxism and communism? It is not different. See, I will tell you. Communism was the actual form of the theory that Marx and Engels termed their theory. Marx and Engels যখন নিজের থিওরি লিখছিল বা ডিসকাস করছে, লিখছে, Das Kapital লিখছে, and whatever Engels had written, they are participating in political activities, etc., etc. ওরা তখন নিজেদের থিওরিটাকে, নিজেদের স্টান্সটাকে কমিউনিজম বলছিল, ঠিক আছে? So because they were working for the community of unrepresented people, of the working class community. However, as the world progressed, in the 19th century, then in the 20th century, as it happened particularly in the 20th century, those conditions that required Marx and Engels to write those very specific conditions that compelled or that made Marx and Engels write their books and compose their theory, make their theory. Those conditions did not exist uh, very similarly. They were changing, right? They were changing according to the time, according to context, according to society, etc., etc. So, what was happening was that the communism in its form was changing, not in its objective. Communism still sees a classless society, but it was changing in its form. Like, how will it reach that classless society? The technique of revolution, it was changing. Like people like Gramsci, they were very much different from a traditional Marxist. So Gramsci cannot be called a Marxist. However, he is a part of this bigger circle of Marxism, that is the communist theory that Marx started off. So the communist theory, which is similar to the form with which Marx and Engels were working, only those communist theories are called Marxism. Like in the next class, I will differentiate between traditional Marxist and the Leninist Marxist, etc., etc. Then you will understand that why Marxism needed to change in its form, and why we can no longer call all forms of communism as Marxism, because today's communism does not value or does not think it is important to have the same beliefs as Marx and Engels did. Because today's society is different from the 19th century society that Marx was living in Germany, or Engels was living in, or whatever Britain was facing, or whatever was happening in Russia. Today, those same things are not happening. So that is the difference between Marxism and communism, is a difference of form. Traditional communism, traditional Marxist ideals were known as ideals of Marx, and from there we have the name Marxism, or the followers of the ideals of Marx. However, today we have various other forms of Marxism. We have modern Marxism, we have feminist Marxism, we have Leninist Marxism, Stalinist Marxism. There are so many, and we had another, like in India, in West Bengal, the political party that was before this current ruling party, CPIM, it was a follower of Leninist Marxism, or what Gramsci wrote about. However, it is a form of Marxism, therefore we still use this name. Dorothy, is this clear, the difference? Okay. So কেউ স্ক্রিনশট নিয়ে নিয়েছো নিশ্চয়ই, আমাকে ওটা পার্সোনালি একটু পাঠিয়ে দিও পিপল লিস্ট থেকে, and I will share whatever I have to share. That is the Communist Manifesto. I think I have shared with you the essay. যদি না করে থাকি আমাকে বল, পাঠিয়ে দেবো. So I will share the Communist Manifesto with you. I will share the use of Marxism with you, and of course later on I will video of this recording. Thank you for today, and please ask me if you have any questions later on. Bye bye.